Hi there, welcome back to my YouTube channel, The Epic Filmmaker. My name is Anthony Epp. I am a working filmmaker in the industry up in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I work as an assistant director for commercials, television, movies, short films, web series, digital series, and so on, music videos, and also have recently just produced, directed, and wrote with my partner and wife Helena Tom our first feature film, 13 Miles, which is currently in post-production. So today I want to talk to you about audience building. There are a lot of theories out there about how to get funding for your first film. And I'm going to try to take a step back on that and say that you actually shouldn't try to get funding for your first film until you have started to build an audience that wants to hear from you. And this comes from personal experience. We went and started crowdfunding for our feature in quite a few years ago. And we actually have run 3 crowdfunding campaigns for 13 Miles. And each one we learned from and built upon towards the next one. But one of the things that we learned from our first crowdfunding, it is very difficult to start any kind of crowdfunding without an audience. And by an audience, I don't mean like you need to have, the Marvel universe or the Disney universe at your disposal. But what you want is you want people who care about your next piece of work. And that is really vital towards building the long game of a successful filmmaking career. There's a YouTuber out there named Alex LeMay, and one of the things that he points out is that Hollywood and the studios aren't buying ideas anymore; they're buying people. So really, what you're pitching is, I'm the person to make this story. And you get that by bringing something to the table that otherwise you might not have. But here are my tips for getting started and starting to build your audience. And really what you're trying to do is you're trying to build your fan base. So let's start with tip number 1. Write or produce content that entertains and or teaches other people. Don't create content that is pitching. Don't be constantly selling. Do something that provides value for somebody else. So it could just be entertainment. Make a film that costs you nothing to make, but that has an impact on it and you can put out there. Or make a video teaching something that If, let's say, you're let's say the movie you want to make has something to do with triathlon, for example, which is what our movie 13 Miles is about. What I might consider doing if I were starting from the beginning is I might start saying, here are some ways that I got started in training for my first triathlon, and maybe start writing some blog posts on it, or make a video about it, or document it on Instagram. You are a person who is providing something that other people will enjoy. As a person who's trying to be valuable to others, the best thing you can do is be valuable first to someone else. Offer to help other people with something that they need when they need it. In other words, don't make an offer to say, hey, I'll edit your next movie for you if you're, say, learning to be an editor. Don't offer that if they're not at the editing phase. But when someone comes to you, when someone is out there and they're going, hey, I'm about to make another short film and so on, and I'm about to start crewing up or announcing the short film I'm going to be making a couple of months from now, and you are an editor, make that offer out. Just say, look, I'd love to help you out. What would be useful to you right now? And if the person says, I already have an editor in mind, say, well, how about this? Do you need any behind the scenes videos? Do you need any social media content done for you that I could maybe grab some clips while you guys are in pre-production or while you're on set and just cut together like some 15-second little behind the scenes stuff and post them up for you? You're adding something and offering something that I know personally, if I were making my next film and someone was offering to help cut together my behind the scenes footage, so we didn't have to worry about that when we were worrying about pre-production, all this other stuff. All we'd have to do is get them footage to cut together. That would be hugely invaluable. Another thing to do is to support other filmmakers. I cannot tell you how significant it can be. And this is, again, there's different audiences you're trying to build towards, right? Like there's the audience of people who want to watch your movies and just are not interested in being in the industry. And there's also the audience of people who are connected within the industry, who you want to constantly be nurturing and building relationships with. And I would definitely go out and start supporting other movies you see, other short films, other filmmakers. Listen to podcasts by filmmakers, and then put notes and comments in them. Be genuine, like make a note about something that you learned from that filmmaker or something like that. If you listen to an interview, find the person on social media and send them a note that says, here's what I learned from you. I really appreciated your talk, but here's what I learned from you. Don't get carried away with this. Don't fawn over people. Don't become a fan person over people. Also, don't make the comment about you. Don't sit there and, again, this is all about adding value before you ask for things. When you're commenting on someone else's work, or when you're saying, hey, great work, or look forward to watching the movie or something like that, don't immediately then turn it around and go, by the way, I have a pitch on YouTube, or I have pitching a project on Kickstarter or on Seed and Spark or something like that. Could you please support me? You want to do this work way before you ever need anybody's help. This is the work you do. Like, you could do this starting, right after you watch this video. Go and do that. The third thing I would do is I would start connecting with people inside your industry. Make it an action plan of yours to try to create 2 new connections and do what I just said. So that could be you listen to a filmmaking podcast and then you comment on it, or you send the person a DM, or you reach out to another filmmaker who's making a film. Stay at your level. Like, don't reach out to Steven Spielberg and say, hey, I'd love to take you for a coffee. But reach out to filmmakers in your sphere of work, like basically who are at your level, who are pitching projects, making stuff, and just say, hey, I just wanted to wish you good luck. And then maybe when they finish their film, or if they've taken it to that level of, I finished a feature film, or I finished a television series, or I finished a web series, if that's something you're aspiring to do, and that's what your next project is going to be about, offer to take them for a coffee or a tea or something like that. See if you can connect with them on Zoom for like 15 minutes. Just say, hey, I'd love to see if you have availability to chat. If you can pair that also with something like, I want to offer you some help doing something else, that's even more valuable. Because I can tell you, and you'll find this as you move up in your career, the challenges for your time are going to be extraordinary. So asking someone for 15 minutes of their time is going to be really hard. So try to come to the table with something you can offer them. What do you do if you don't have the ability to just go and do things, especially locally? In the film industry in Vancouver, there's maybe more opportunities to meet other filmmakers, but if you don't live in Vancouver, or if you live in remote areas or cities that don't have large independent film communities, it's not as easy to connect with those people, right? The fourth thing that I would recommend you do is start to showcase your work on free forums. This is something where I think filmmakers get caught up in trying to make something perfect for their first introduction to the world. And I think what you need to do is you need to start just producing work in public that shows the world that you are out there. Don't try to be cute. Don't try to make fancy stuff. Don't try to make the most wow content that you can come up with. But there's nothing saying you can't grab your smartphone right now, grab a couple of friends, put together a little sketch, film it, try to get a few angles from it, cut that together, and post it online on YouTube tomorrow or in the next couple of days. Think of channels like College Humor or Cracked or things like that, where some of these some really good filmmakers have come out of these channels where they were just creating these sort of little micro sketches, and some of those are arguably more comedy. But then you could also look at someone like David Sandberg, who directed Shazam, but also got his start with his wife at home making very short thriller, supernatural, horror type of movies in his home with his own gear. And he's got an entire YouTube channel of just this evolution of filmmaking over the course of the last 10 years that led him to be a person that other people demanded and wanted to work with. He wound up getting a feature film funded off of a short film that he made, and the feature film was called Annabelle Creation. It was built off of a short film that he and his wife made in their home with a DSLR camera, and made up dollies and a little bit of a sound, a sound recorder and so on, and then some ingenuity with free software like you could use DaVinci Resolve to edit the film. You can get that for free. You can use that to create your titles. You can use actually DaVinci Resolve. You can use for everything. You can use it for your sound and everything like that, and you could just make something and put it out there. And I would say do it while you're networking and while you're out there saying I'm meeting people and so on. The best thing you can be doing is just putting work out and putting stuff out on the internet. David Sandberg didn't crowdfund to get to his first feature. He just made YouTube videos, and then he shared his process. I think he took it a step further and sort of taught something about how he made that film, and I think that's a brilliant way to do it. I think that's definitely a replicable method. He did all this while living in Sweden, so it wasn't even that he was anywhere close to networks or studios where he could work. As you can tell, I'm a bit of a big fan of his, and I think that's really a great way to build a career and to build. And again, you're not. This is not about getting a million people to like you or trying to get lots and lots of Instagram followers or things like that. But it's about creating a body of work so that someday you're going to go and you're going to put together a film project, a movie project, whether that's a really polished short film or trying to get your first feature. And to be able to turn back to all of this stuff in the past and say, look, this is the stuff I've done. People might go, oh yeah, that's interesting. But more than that, they're going to start to look at at how engaging you are, and are you good? Are you good in a room? Are you good with people? So definitely put out free work, not for festivals, not even as proof of concepts for features. Like, this is just stuff that's used to entertain. I think that's a great way to go about it. Number 5, when people comment on your work, interact with them. When you get signal from people who go, I enjoyed your thing, I enjoyed the thing you posted out, that is an invitation to engage. And even if it's just one person, the one fun thing about being in the film industry is that if you start engaging with people at the when you're just getting going, before maybe your schedule takes off or something like that, you'll have fans that will follow you, because as you grow into more and more films. And one of the things that I recommend doing is starting to collect emails and contact info from people as soon as you possibly can. There's really easy ways to do this. You can use MailChimp or ConvertKit, or just a spreadsheet where you just ask people like, hey, I'd love to keep you posted on the work that I'm doing. Can I grab your email address? Because that's one of the things I wish we had done early before we started crowdfunding, was if we had started putting our content out there and then building up an email list, so that when we went to start to raise money, we already had people who were like, I want to hear from you. I want to know what you're up to next. Because that probably would indicate that they might be interested also in helping us out in different ways. And not just with money, but just with support in other ways. One of the things that I've learned, this is number 6. One of the things that I've actually learned and started to do more often, I did it a lot more in the beginning when I was first getting going, but I've done it more often now, is just to write thank you notes and to thank people who are finding you and recognizing what you're doing. Thank them, but also thank people who've helped you. Just send a note once in a while to someone that you haven't maybe thanked lately for helping you with what you did. And just a little note. If you can do it physically, like if you can actually pop it in the mail, I know it's sort of weird these days to have like physical mail, but people who receive physical mail are always appreciative of it. Number 7, so if you haven't worked with someone in a long time, whether it's in the film industry or other industries, reach out to them and say hello. It all sounds like stuff that is just like, that has nothing to do with your career. But building relationships is a much better long-term plan than the kind of Glengarry Glen Ross approach of always be closing, like always be selling. I think people who are always selling are tough people to hang around with, whereas people who are just good at continually building relationships are fun, are nice to be around, are good to be around. Like you know, when that person pops up in your inbox or shows up at an event that you're at, you're happy they're there. I think that's a good thing. And one real trick about this is that anytime you come across something that reminds you of a period of time in your life, think of like who was there at that time, who would be someone you might want to contact, who you wouldn't mind contacting again. Obviously, if it was like someone who did something terrible, you don't want to contact them. But if it was someone who's like, oh yeah, I wonder what that person's up to, take that as a sign to just go like to spend a couple of minutes and go, I wonder where they are, and reach out to them. Something I think that's kind of fun to do is to help a stranger. It's kind of neat to be able to just help people without condition. Don't like do anything crazy, and don't ask for anything again. You're just helping people. And you'll notice this is a theme of what I'm saying, is that the reason why most crowdfunding campaigns fall short is that as the filmmaker, as the person asking for the money, I almost feel like it's an intrusion for me to even ask for it, because I don't feel like I've earned the right yet. And what I'm offering with the tips that I'm giving you right here is that by taking a lot of these steps consistently over time, you build up the credibility and you build up the permission to ask for help in the future. And it's the idea that just you give in different ways before you ask for anything. In fact, you get to a point where people are almost saying, how can I help you? And that's when you know you're in a position where, okay, maybe this is a good time to start trying to raise funding or to do something bigger. Talk positively about other film projects. I can't tell you how many times I get frustrated when I watch other filmmakers piss on each other's work. And I mean, we're not all making gems here. It's okay to be critical. I think critical is good. I think when you are, especially if someone asks for feedback, it's good to give honest feedback, but give honest feedback in a way that is designed to help, not to necessarily designed to hurt someone's feelings. Art is a very tough thing to do. Like putting a movie out is tough to do. Putting a YouTube video out is tough to do. I mean, this is, I'm not looking for validation here, because I'm just trying to get my thoughts out into the world. But honestly, like putting my face on camera is really challenging. Like this is the first time I've really made a commitment to do this more often. And so I welcome feedback, but I welcome feedback from that's designed to be helpful, not feedback that is designed for you to show me up, or for you to show off to me, or try to like flex a little bit, and say, oh yeah, you should do, you're terrible at this, you should do this, and blah, 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 whatever. It's like, no. If there's honest feedback about the comments that I'm making, the way that I'm presenting the material, I totally appreciate that. If you want to engage with me privately, please do. And I want to do the same thing. I want to talk positively about when other people are putting work out there, whether it's music videos or commercials or web series, digital series, television shows, and so on. Doesn't mean it necessarily has to be always your cup of tea, but it's always good to recognize work and be positive about it. Someone and here's the thing: don't offer unsolicited criticism of other people. If I'm not looking for criticism at the moment that I maybe show something, getting your criticism isn't going to make me accept you more into my life. But if I ask you for your feedback, and if you ask other people for their feedback, this is another good thing. When we're asking for feedback, we're telling the other person that we value them as human beings and we value their opinion. But when we don't ask for feedback, if I don't ask for feedback from I don't need feedback from a million people to tell me how to make my next film. I accept that there's going to be feedback on everything that I put out that's public. Anyway, my point is, be positive. Publicly be positive. If you have private criticisms of people, keep those things private. If you have criticisms of people, keep those things private. But if you have positive feedback to offer, make that public. It's always great to have public praise and private critique. I think you'll win a lot of friends that way, because people will see that you're really just trying to be helpful, not that you're trying to show off or flex for other people. And then finally, do something that Seth Godin, who's an online marketing teacher, says, is that you want to build your people assets by one person at a time. Not trying to go out and get 1,000 people to sign up for your email list, but getting one new person to sign up for your emailing list, and then just engaging with them. It's like what I said earlier, doing things that don't necessarily scale quickly to help build that brand of being a person that people want to be associated with. One of the best examples you can do with this is once as you start to engage people, you say, hey, I'd love to send you the updates on what I'm doing. Can I get your email address and I'll put it in my email newsletter? And then you do it. And then what you do is you send them project updates. And it doesn't mean you send them an email every day. It doesn't mean you send them a note every day. But when you have something valuable to share that you think might be exciting for other people, you send them a project update. And this is something that you might start doing the moment that you start putting out some of that smaller short film stuff that you put out on the internet. But this is definitely something that you're going to want to start doing if you do have a crowdfunding campaign about to start, or some kind of a campaign where you're going to require people to go and support your project publicly. So you have to start that process early. Don't come out on day one and go, hey, we're live, we need money. You want to start working on that 60 days in advance. And I would definitely check out, there's some really good crowdfunding videos, training videos out there. I think that Seed and Spark does a really good job of some of their free webinars. Anyway, long video today, and I wish you luck. If you need any help setting up your quote-unquote audience building apparatus, pop me a note, and I'll give you I'll answer whatever questions you have. I'm still learning on all of this as well, but so far we've been able to build up a fairly good following for our movie 13 Miles, which we are, it's taken a while. We definitely played the long game, but it's coming together. And this is as always, it's always a long-term work in progress. Anyway, I will catch you tomorrow, and for the rest of the day, go out, make films, and tell people about them, and we'll see you tomorrow.